enjoy this chat or watch it there and enjoy that chat. It's up to you.
Whatever works.
There was something else. Special thanks to Hannah for going through channels and cleaning out the smut you dirty, dirty people put in there.
And by smut, of course, we don't mean the stuff that we don't care about. We are, of course, talking about all the stuff that is truly and purely against TOS for Discord.
Yeah. Smut,
God,
dirty,
I'm fucking tired today.
And
by smut, of course, we don't mean the stuff that we... What is going on?
Liv, you're bleeding through. Just so you know.
Yeah, I'm fixing to fix that.
Code anime. Don't recognize you.
Don't care about
special thing.
Of course.
So,
talking about all the stuff that is true and purely against TOS for Discord.
I got a response on the official Discord stance on gore.
I think I'm
Oh, yeah.
I'm
Clear
not
as
sure.
mud as you'd
Can't
expect.
hear anything now.
We can't hear anything either. That's good,
Smut,
except for your
Come on.
voice.
Tired today.
Come on.
And by smut, of course, we don't mean the stuff that we... What is going on?
So when
Yeah,
it
I'm
comes
fixing
to
fix that.
gore, anime, bruises,
Okay, here we go.
or sometimes okay and sometimes not. So
Yeah, talking about all
that's
the
not the answer that we
truly and purely against
It's about as
TOS.
close as
I
it's
got
gonna
a
get
response
to.
on the official
It's like
Discord stance
somebody
on
might hit their thumb with a
gore.
hammer.
I think I'm
Oh,
fixing
yeah.
it. I'm
Clear
not
as
sure.
mud
In
as
fact,
you'd
here,
expect.
I'll
might
Yeah.
disturb people, so that might be against Discord TOS.
I'll
We can't
pull
hear
up the
anything either.
exact
That's
thing they
good.
said to me, because I was the one who
Yeah.
sent this email. As with all things, context matters. Blood and guts is generally accepted as not okay. So if you see blood, it's not okay, apparently. In terms of things like bruises, you might bruise your thumb after a hammer swing gone wrong, which would likely be fine, but with severe bruising from an assault, might be more violent. Alternatively, a simple misswing from a hammer can cause a very shocking-looking image. Where Discord draws the line depends on the context of the situation. What we tell server owners is it's best to be respectful and thoughtful. If an image could shock people for displaying of gore or violence, it's better to delete it. You are better safe than sorry. In order to be respectful of everyone who might join your server. In other words, bruises are okay. They're about the only thing that are okay, but bruises are not okay.
Yep.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's thanks Discord, so helpful.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
you're about as helpful as YouTube's guidelines.
The only thing that really cleared up is that blood is just not okay.
What? But vampire man.
Real blood is not
Well,
okay.
It states in there, fake blood is okay, kind of. It depends on how realistic it is, I guess.
How
Depends
about?
on the realism and depends on how virulent it is. Like if it's a severed, if it's a disembodied heart or something along those lines, yeah, you're probably not going to be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
Huh?
Maxwell, send me the advert in a DM because I'm curious what that is. Yeah. Oh, jeez. I swear there was something else though.
You'll remember it as soon as we move on to something else, guaranteed.
That's how it always happens. It always happens. It's right after the first article. It's like, oh yeah, all this other shit happened.
I am now live, so let me quickly run through my intro here. Clocks. So, hello, good evening, and welcome to Republic News. I am your hostess, Liviana. Tonight I am doing episode 8 of Liv's Precincts. The title of the episode is Joint Intelligence Operation Stormy Romulan. For those who don't know what that means, good. And with me this evening, I have two co-conspirators, Jables Boogley and Rimshee, of the Lesser
Call
Saints.
me Kyle, I just opened up a monster.
Uh-oh. Alright. Of the Lesser Saints of Discord podcast, which does their Precinct show at the same time as my own. We have joined forces this evening to fight back against, what shall we call this disrespect that we've been...
Operation fuck you.
Yeah.
We've joined forces to fight back against being disregarded and disrespected, yeah. Certain person who shall remain nameless.
The infamous Wizard of Cause.
Nick, who keeps streaming at the same time we are, so...
He will remain nameless. Now let's name him!
We...
There's a total air of restraint here, trust me.
Someone is dissing vampires in my stream chat there. Vampires do suck. Yes we do.
What do you mean we?
What, you guys didn't know I was a vampire? It's pretty common knowledge.
No, I know you're one. Why are you saying we? I'm not a vampire.
Oh,
So
well.
it's the royal we.
Yeah, that's it.
Because vampires are royalty.
Yeah. Hey, it works for me.
So, speaking of vampires, which most celebrities probably are, you want to talk about how we don't know if Taylor Swift has a belly button or not?
That is old news. There has been a photo that came out since then, which may have been done simply to dispel that bit of information. But there was a photo of her in a bikini.
Whoa, robot.
Oh, am I roboting?
Yeah, but you were roboting throughout that little speech right there.
Oh, okay. I think it should fix it.
Good now.
Yeah, there was a...
Yeah, but... yeah. We all know that picture could easily be Photoshopped.
Oh, of course it was.
She works in Hollywood. They could have done like some prosthetics, get a makeup designer in there and everything. Belly.
Yeah, my sister knows how to do movie makeup. She's taken plenty of classes and has actually done work professionally at like haunted houses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows how to do that, and that's actually not that hard.
So
it's Kyle.
Oh, sorry, Kyle. Here's a Go to your sister, get a belly button on your face, just to prove it can be done.
It'll take some time.
Yeah, it's fine. That's all we have.
We have nothing but.
So,
Alright, so this is from...
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, my son?
His neighbors just decided to rearrange their apartment. So, I might be muting myself. Okay, for that.
Good.
So, yeah. Article from the Cut. There's no proof Taylor Swift has a belly button. One little disgust vent. Disappointing. Taylor Swift, 24, appears to have made the transition this summer. Yeah. 4 times in the past 6 weeks, Swift has been photographed wearing a fitted crop top with a matching high-waisted flared skirt. I say this not in a catty, she must really love that crop top way. Wearing variations on the same outfit every day is one of the chief consolations of growing up. It looks good every time. Taylor Swift, who looks tall and thin, even standing next to BFF Carly Kloss, could pull off whatever unforgiving outfits get sent down runways. Why would she choose a uniform? Choose a uniform that, by exposing the narrowest part of the waist, flatters most. One cut theory is that it allows Taylor Swift to capitulate to the crop top trend without exposing her belly button, thereby maintaining android-level physical perfection. Belly buttons, like nipples, are reminders that women are animals, not Photoshop illustrations. Another is that it's the most ladylike way to cool off. She's an android and a role model.
Okay, I gotta say, if she's an android, they would have put a belly button on there. They would have put the most generic belly button on there just to hide that fact.
No, you know what it is,
The reality is
Rimshee.
she's a clone.
Yes, exactly. That's what the deal is. They have all this cloning thing going on throughout the entertainment industry. I mean, have you seen Helen Hunt and Lily Sobieski? And if you think that's bad, there's this Irish vocalist who looks just like them, except she has black hair. But of course, we know they can dye their hair. Then we've got Bruce Dern and Brad Dourif. Huh? I mean, the list goes on and on.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's even BD.
Maxwell, wait, are you saying she had to...
They might have just forgot to put the belly button on.
Yeah,
Sometimes
but
you forget little
Android...
details like that.
Oh my god.
Printing a new Android overskin is easier than Photoshopping. It just
That's why
goes
it's not
right over the
Photoshop.
endoskeleton.
Yeah. Well, I guess, but she looks pretty fleshy. I mean, sometimes it takes a long time to grow flesh like that. So, yeah.
No, she's a clone. You're right. You got it right, Rimshee. She's a clone.
Alright.
I'm sorry, Kyle.
Hold on, I got something talking to me and I don't know where it's coming from.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
one of the other articles decided to start talking. It's being fucking stupid.
yeah, they're
Is it
great
the
like
lobster?
that, aren't they?
Yeah, why is it that news sites are the worst? Like, their layouts are terrible, they have random pop-ups and autoplay videos all the fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are news sites the worst at creating websites?
They suck.
It's just,
They gotta
It's
get
just
that
news.
money.
yeah, but it's just news. Like, you can have a pretty generic site.
Yeah.
My MySpace page was less messy than these news sites. Trust me, it was pretty fucking messy.
MySpace was just a horrible thing.
Oh my god, no, what the fuck? I got one of them happening too.
I think I know which one.
Which one was it? What's the NBC?
It was The Hill.
No, it was Telesur. I stopped loading the Hill before they got their video loaded, motherfuckers. Alright. So, let me jump in with a news article here. This is from NBC. Ministers interrupt sessions are removed from Religious Freedom Conference. The Attorney General was speaking at a conference on the future of religious liberty when two ministers challenged his fealty to the Bible. This is by Alex Johnson. It was published on the 29th of October. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' speech at a religious freedom conference on Monday was interrupted by two pastors who were summarily removed from the premises as Sessions described the remarks as an attack. Sessions was defending the Trump administration's campaign against what it calls discriminatory religious laws during a conference on the future of religious liberty organized by the Boston Lawyers chapter of the Federalist Society, a nonprofit conservative legal group. Shortly into his remarks, the Reverend Will Green, pastor of Ballard Vale United Church, a joint United Methodist Church / Church of Christ congregation in Andover, stood up and began addressing the Attorney General. Brother Jeff, quote, Brother Jeff, as a fellow United Methodist, I call upon you to repent, to care for those in need, end quote. Green then recited Matthew 25:42-43, which begins, quote, For I was hungry and you did not feed me, I was a stranger and you did not welcome me, end quote. Sessions replied, quote, Well, thank you for those remarks and attack, but I would just tell you we do our best every day, end quote. After security officers escorted Green out of the room, a second minister, the Reverend Darrell Hamilton II, the pastor for Formation and Outreach at the First Baptist Church of Jamaica Plain in Boston, then rose to his defense. He said, quote, That is a person that represents the Christian tradition, the faith that everyone here professes to believe in, actually sharing the words of Jesus himself, the words of Jesus that are represented in the book of Isaiah, end quote. Security then began escorting Hamilton out as some in the audience booed and heckled him, and he said, quote, I thought we were here to protect religious liberty, sir. I thought we were here to protect religious liberty, end quote. Hamilton said, quote, I'm a pastor of a Baptist church and you are escorting me out for exercising my religious freedom. That is very hypocritical for this group of people to be wanting to be protecting religious freedom while you are escorting me out for doing that work, end quote. Sessions resumed his prepared remarks after saying, quote, Thank you all for your comments and we're glad to hear them, but that's pretty close to what we refer to as the heckler's veto, the ability of one individual to prevent others in a proper forum to be able to express a hopefully coherent thought about a serious subject, end quote. In an interview with Religion News Service afterward, Green said he interrupted Sessions, quote, because his entire political agenda is antithetical to the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think I have a responsibility to call him to account about the harm he's doing, end quote. Hamilton said in an email message to Religion News Service, quote, Jeff Sessions is not a champion of true religious liberty, and as a Baptist preacher in the long legacy of Baptist preachers such as Roger Williams and John Leyland, I disrupted Jeff Sessions to defend the protection of both soul and religious freedom of all people as a true witness of Christian religion practice, end quote. Sessions' aggressive pursuit of some parts of Trump's agenda has created discord within the United Methodist Church, of which Sessions is a member and for which he has long taught Sunday school classes. Let's see, this goes on a little bit longer. I think that's enough, but I thought that was pretty interesting.
It's literally two more paragraphs.
Yeah, well.
It's just more circle jerking.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it describes like exactly what they yeah, so they're just talking about the zero tolerance policies on immigration.
Yeah.
That's why they were bad. Which is weird because they also didn't Trump make it so that pastors are able to preach from the pulpit, like sway voters from the pulpit? Didn't he do that?
I don't think that's possible, no.
I don't know.
I heard something about that.
Was that, as far as I know, that should have always been a thing. You could easily make the argument that, hey, they can sway people from the pulpit by preaching, hey, this is what we believe, and since you believe this is who we should vote for based on our faith.
No, they can't do that.
Separation of church and state.
Yeah.
Separation of church and state. They're not allowed to do that and maintain a nonprofit.
They can speak about. They can speak about.
I'm not going to argue with the ethicality of it. I'm saying I think that it is permitted.
No,
it's the same thing as.
No, it's not. You cannot endorse any particular candidate from the pulpit. You can talk about issues, yes, but you can't endorse any candidate.
It's the same rules as a nonprofit organization.
Right.
Yeah, well, I still think that that's bullshit, because, I mean, prime example would be Planned Parenthood. They're getting they're getting taxpayer money, and they're using it to get people to they're giving it to candidates and to ballot initiatives in order to sway the vote. If they're getting tax money,
here's the difference. Planned Parenthood isn't a nonprofit.
It's still getting taxpayer money. It shouldn't be able. It's
getting taxpayer money, but it also pays taxes. Churches and nonprofits do not pay taxes.
Right.
That's why they're not allowed to do that.
Also, Planned Parenthood.
I don't think either one should.
Also, Planned Parenthood never.
Well, if they paid taxes, I wouldn't have an issue with it.
Planned Parenthood never endorsed a candidate until 2016 when they endorsed Hillary Clinton, and since that time I've given them not another dime. Same thing goes for several other supposed women's organizations. The Human Rights Campaign, which is the kind of the big name LGBTI advocate group. I don't give them any money because they all endorse.
Advocate group?
Huh?
The Alphabet Soup Advocate Group?
Yeah, I don't like to use all those different letters. I just say LGBTI. That's enough. Anything else should be able to fall under one of those letters.
No, see here. No, it's LGBTQAAI.
No. And don't even start with the quilt bag thing, because that's just offensive.
Yeah, but the issue is that churches they have closed books. Government can't see their books at all, so we don't know what's going on with that money for one thing. Nonprofits have to have open books. But also on top of that, they both don't pay taxes because they're not profits or they're religions. So that's why they're not allowed to endorse candidates. They can definitely discuss issues and everything, but they aren't allowed to specifically endorse who to vote for.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can endorse to vote a certain way on like certain bills and stuff, right? Because that's discussing issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If they pay taxes, I'm more than happy to let them
say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah. So, but it all, I don't know. Separation of church and state's getting all wonky.
Mm-hmm. I do want to point out...
Those of you that are religious out there, freedom of religion also means freedom from religion.
Yes, it does. I also want to point out that the Baptist guy who was talking about soul liberty and referencing Roger Williams was speaking in a long line of Baptist tradition. Roger Williams established the first Baptist church in America back in the 1600s in Providence. After leaving, I guess, the Pilgrim, Puritan, whatever they were, in Massachusetts, he went out and started his own colony over there in Rhode Island, and established the very first Baptist church before the United States was the United States, and it is still there to this day. I mean, I guess they've got new buildings and stuff, but the First Baptist Church of Providence is the first Baptist church in America. But one of the things that Williams taught very explicitly was the idea of soul liberty. Until rather recently, I guess in the 90s, the idea of the priesthood of the believer in the Baptist Faith and Message, which is the Confession of Faith of the Southern Baptist Convention, the largest Baptist group in America, was taken to also mean that individual believers had the right to interpret the Bible for themselves. But after the fundamentalists took over in about the mid-'80s, because there is a difference between evangelicals and fundamentalists, and there are two different kinds of fundamentalists, but basically in the mid-'80s, the fundamentalists took over the Southern Baptist Convention, which had previously been evangelical-dominated. Anyway, after they took over, they kind of nixed that so that now they think they have only the ministers have the right to interpret the Bible for you, which is what the Catholic Church has done historically. That even in Vatican II documents, there's a document that says the religious must make the believer, what does it say? I can't remember the exact word, but anyway, people must make a religious submission of the intellect and will to all four classes of statements by the magisterium. And only one of those four classes of statements is supposed to be, quote, infallible, unquote. But according to this document, it doesn't matter. You have to submit your intellect and will to these statements, even when they're inconsistent with one another or contradict other statements by the magisterium and so forth. But yeah, soul liberty is a very interesting concept in the Baptist tradition, and also
a little bit of roboting there.
Roger Williams then later went on to become a separatist. He called himself, and he left the Baptist Church and just did his own Christian thing without any particular dogma. And then after that, he became a seeker, where he wasn't tied to any kind of Christianity at all, and was just roaming around trying to find his path.
Yeah, and this is why we have over 40,000, or probably a lot more than that, different denominations of Christianity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in
Nobody
John,
can agree on anything.
chapter 17 of John has a statement that is the prayer of Jesus, saying, my prayer for them is that they all be one, as I am one with you, Father, and the world will know that they are Christians because they are one, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that didn't work out real well, did it? Hell, in any given southern town of any size, you're going to have at least 2 and probably 3 different Southern Baptist churches, not to mention, Landmark Baptists, Primitive Baptists. Free Will Baptists are a little different because they came out of the Anglican tradition instead of, the Southern Baptists and these guys are more Calvinistic, whereas the Free Will Baptists are more Arminian. So they came through the Methodist Church, out of the Methodist Church, and formed their group. But yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Yeah. So,
I gotta say though, my new setup has already made this podcast a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah. With that said, let's lighten things up a little bit and find out what happens when you drink an entire bottle of weed lube.
Uh-oh.
Don't worry, Liv. I'll share this in the text.
Killing it with transitions today. It's great.
I'll go ahead and read this one.
Yeah.
What happens when you drink an entire bottle of weed lube? After suffering chronic yeast infections for years, I thought all natural THC lubricant would be the answer to my prayers. Instead, it put me in the depths of hell, in the depths of a hell with my own making. Fucking talking. I got my first yeast infection at age 11. Right after... God, this is weird. This is probably weird hearing coming out of my voice. I got my first yeast infection at age 11, right after my first period. I was in middle school, which made the experience all the more hellish. I remember realizing that I was becoming a woman, though I didn't exactly know what that meant, and desperately trying to convince myself that the things happening to my body were good and positive. I took comfort in the fact that soon this would all lead to me having boobs. And then I transitioned.
I think Rimshee, you're the perfect person to read this, especially for this next paragraph. I already read it.
My vagina was a bloody, yeasty war zone.
Oh my god.
To top it all off, I wasn't even old enough to understand what was happening. Though I had been through sex ed, and I had been raised by a mother who firmly believed in blunt honesty when talking with children about sex. No one thought to tell me about yeast infections. I began to wonder if this is just what it's like to have a vagina. Maybe all grown women experience this kind of pain in their vaginas all the time, and it's only bothering me because I'm not used to it, or because I'm a wimp. But soon I told my mother about the itching and burning, and she explained what was going on. This was followed by a traumatizing experience involving my mother inserting a little egg-shaped ball of antifungal cream into my vagina.
Oh, goodness.
What the shit? God. This is just Jables doing his best to find weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he actually intended for me to read this, but let's continue.
I intended it.
These yeast infections annoyingly persisted, and when I became sexually active with my first boyfriend around age 15, the frequency increased dramatically. This is when I discovered that my vagina is allergic to just about everything. All latex condoms and about 99% of store-bought lubricants will cause me to have a crippling yeast infection.
Holy crap.
And they're... Hey, Chris, what do you think about this coming out of my mouth, of all people? Okay, where was I? My natural predisposition towards getting yeast infections, combined with my historically slutty behavior, and extreme passivity in terms of telling my partners when something is going to give me a yeast infection, has caused me to have at least one per month for my entire adult life.
Damn.
God
Wow.
damn one. Get your vag under control. Thankfully, I'm in a committed relationship now, and I am past the point of being too embarrassed to tell my boyfriend when something is going to set my vagina on fire. Like a lighter. I'm proud to say that I haven't had a yeast infection for a few months now, which is truly a blessing. Please congratulate me on this next time you see me.
Oh, God. Wow.
This is great.
Oh. When I heard about Foria, an all-national, all-national.
We're getting into alt-right territory? Is that what's going on?
No, it's an all-national, all-natural coconut marijuana lubricant. I thought it would be life-changing. It felt like the product was made specifically for me because it combined my 3 favorite things in the entire world: weed, sex, and coconut oil. That is a weird combination. The only lubricant I've ever been able to use without getting a yeasty. Okay, I gotta pause right here and ask, do people actually call it a yeasty, or is this woman just fucking crazy?
I've never heard that.
Okay, I've never heard that either.
Well, I mean, you kids have all kinds of terms that I've never heard before. I got called a smoke show and a dime piece one time, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I had to go to Urban Dictionary and look it up. I found out they were compliments, but, it was kind of weird because I'd never heard them before. I had no idea what you guys were talking about. I mean, it wasn't you guys, it was, who the hell was it?
Other people in the Discord.
Yeah, other people.
We all blend together at some point. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in there and been like, did I say that? No, it was this person. Anyway.
I know the things that I've said.
Yeah, well, you're the one who we always have to keep in check.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I can't keep it in check.
Yeah, we don't always succeed.
I
got a bottle of Foria as soon as I could and ran home, excited to test it out. Following the instructions, I squatted pantsless over my toilet and sprayed the lubricant all over my clitoris. God, every time I read that, I just hear it in Gilbert Gottfried's voice.
Oh, yeah, because of that 50 Shades of Grey reading?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know if you've listened to that, Liv.
Yeah, I've heard it.
It's funny. I squatted pantsless over my toilet and sprayed the lubricant all over my clitoris, outer labia, and the inside of my vagina. And while I have heard rave reviews about Phoria from people who are generally not into being stoned, I'm into being stoned. I did feel a euphoric, relaxing sensation in my body and genitals during sex with Phoria, but I was disappointed that I wasn't actually high. I love the idea of consuming THC through my vagina, but the weed lube was just not having the psychoactive effects on me that edibles normally have.
Well, yeah, it's not supposed to. I mean...
Yes, Cats, you're right on. Cats, you're right on time for me to say clitoris.
Yeah. And also, fun fact, people: the reason why edibles have such a this is educational time. The reason why edibles have such a different effect than smoking is because when it's processed through your liver, it creates a different compound that interacts with you in a different way psychoactively. Fun facts about the weed.
Oh. So I did what any normal stoner would do in this situation. I drank the lube.
Oh my god.
And here's a picture of her. I have no idea what's going on. But let's keep going. Now, this isn't as irrational as it sounds. Bullshit. When I bought the bottle of Phoria at my local dispensary, the bud tender, a young woman about my age, mentioned that she also purchased a bottle and then quickly realized that she had spent $80 on a bottle of lube but didn't have anyone to have sex with. She told me that
God.
She told me that she'd experimented with spraying it in her mouth and realized that it does, in fact, get you high. I guess if you have lube that's technically edible and no one to fuck, yeah, spray it in your mouth.
You've never eaten.
Hearing this was a huge comfort for me.
Oh my god.
Even if I didn't like it as a lubricant, at least at the very least, I could spray some in my mouth and catch a buzz, right? Oh boy. But when it comes to edibles, my thing has generally been to eat 2 or 3 times more than what my bud tender recommends. They will usually say something like, only 1/4 of this cookie because it's very strong, and I immediately assume that they're talking down to me. I get defensive and angry when people think I can't handle my drugs, which inevitably leads me to eat the entire edible to prove them wrong. I know this reaction. Are you sure you didn't transition, Jables?
I don't know.
I know this reaction is insane and illogical, even if the dispensary employees see me coming into their store multiple times per week. It is their job to know how strong the products are and to warn their consumers about it so they don't have a bad time. They always know better than me, yet I never, ever listen.
Yeah, I had an
Holy
issue
fuck.
with some mushroom caramels a few weeks ago. Should have listened.
Cats, Cynic, do yourself a favor and rewind to the beginning of this specific article.
Yeah, you can hear all about Rimshee's yeast infections.
Yeah, yeah. And why are you not watching on my channel, Cats? Now I'm very disappointed.
Oh,
Actually, she very well may.
Shots fired. Yeah, I know Maxwell's been doubling up.
Yeah. My experience, the experience I had drinking Foria, however, was in a completely different category from my other experiences with edibles. A bottle of Foria has 450 milligrams of THC in it. I didn't know this. A suggested dose for most edibles is about 25 milligrams, and that is already a lot. If you ask me, if I was going to give and that's already a lot if you ask me. If I was going to give an edible to a friend who didn't smoke as much weed as me, and I wanted them to have a nice time, I would probably give them 10 to 15 milligrams. Well, I drank the entire bottle. All 450 milligrams of the THC down my idiotic gullet.
Holy shit. For a little bit of context for you non-weed smokers,
like
there used to be a place near me when weed first got legalized. They were letting people get away with doing deliveries from stores, and there was this company that had 75 milligram bottles of pink lemonade. It's fantastic shit. However, I was sitting down, just sipping on the pink lemonade, playing video games. I got about a third of the way through the bottle, and I just sunk into my chair, and I got lost in my video game, even with the map. So, that much, that's a shit ton. That's like Joey Coco Diaz levels of THC. If you don't know who that is, get more into stand-up comedy.
All right. Yeah, down my idiotic gullet. I assumed it had very little THC in it, and that's why it didn't get me high when I put it in my vagina. As it turns out, that was because THC is absorbed differently through your vagina than through your digestive system. No shit.
See, I was right in my education segment. Well,
I was still undressed and in a state of disarray from the sex we just had when my boyfriend came out of the bathroom and saw me furiously glancing at the Foria bottle I had just drank with horror and disgust. "What's wrong?" he said, probably assuming I felt another yeast infection coming on. "I drank it," I said, tears welling up in my eyes.
God.
"You drank a bottle of lube," he said flatly, sounding not at all surprised to find out that's what I had done. "Yeah," I said. It has 45 times the recommended dose of THC in it, which I didn't realize when I drank it. Now I'm afraid."
I really like this girl, honestly. Sounds
My
like my kind of lady.
My boyfriend comforted me by mentioning how it was almost time to go to bed. Anyway, so the worst case scenario would be waking up a little groggy the next day, right? Nope. I was high for the next 3 days.
Oh,
3 full
boo-hoo.
days. As I write this now, I still sort of feel like I am coming down. Oh, man.
I remember a time when I was stoned for 3 days. That was after like a week of smoking over a quarter ounce a day and eating pot on top of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like a half an ounce a day smoker for a while. No, less than half an ounce. No, that's too much. Sorry. Weed brain. Yeah, I smoked a lot of weed for a long period of time. I think I was high for an entire year.
Good God. No, I mean, I was constantly stoned anyway, but this was like 3 days after I hadn't smoked or eaten any. I was still stoned, and I was a little bit concerned if I had, permanently damaged myself in some way. And if I'd known one way or the other, you know, am I going to come down or am I going to stay stoned for the rest of my life, I could have just sat back and enjoyed it. It wouldn't have mattered. But it concerned me, so, you know. I think her biggest issue there, though, was the fact that it had coconut oil in it, too. And that stuff is, you know, a lot of fat to take in at once.
Well, the coconut oil, like THC, is fat soluble.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why a lot of people use coconut oil with their baked goods. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hints to any future edible makers. Also, don't bake at a high heat, low and slow.
I better tell Miss Rimshee.
Yeah, well, you either use butter or coconut oil. You just need something fatty to get the THC absorbed in.
I've known some people.
Well, she's currently doing a version of the keto diet called Code Red, and so it's high fat, and so
I've known some people.
I get to have bacon every day. I'm not upset about this.
I've known some.
Actually, bacon. You can actually make THC bacon grease, so you can fry everything up.
I've known some people who made marijuana butter before. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm gonna keep going on this. But when I'm not writing, I work as a nanny. The next day I was due to wake up at 6 a.m. and take care of an extremely high-energy infant until 8 p.m. Right before the phoria kicked in, I went into crisis mode and begged the baby's other nanny to cover for me. Thank God she agreed to cover. Otherwise, I would probably be dead from living out every stoner's worst nightmare. Being in charge of someone else's baby while too stoned to function. However, I wasn't entirely saved. That night, I had what felt like one 12-hour-long nightmare about repeatedly losing the baby in various situations. I lost the baby in a mall, in a movie theater, at my high school, in my boyfriend's house, etc. I woke up the next morning and cried at my boyfriend about how badly I didn't want to go to Disneyland, despite the fact that we had no plans to go to Disneyland that day or ever. After calming me down, he tucked me back into bed with a big bag of salt and vinegar potato chips and turned on Gilmore Girls. After hallucinating that Lauren Graham's face was morphing into Ryan Gosling's face.
Huh, you know, they kind of do look similar.
For just a few seconds at a time, such that nobody besides me had ever noticed, I proceeded to nap for 4 hours. I woke up with potato chips all over my body, then asked my boyfriend to help me wash off in the shower. I didn't feel capable of doing that on my own. I also vaguely remember having a mild panic attack about the fact that I didn't know where our cat was. We don't have a cat.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Days are a blur of snacking and crying. There are 10 text threads on my phone that I don't remember typing, and mysteriously empty bags of Cheetos strewn about my apartment.
I think the mystery's solved about the Cheetos.
Drinking Floria Weed Lube. Rating 2 out of 5 stars. Note, I do not recommend drinking a full bottle of any kind of lube, including and especially not weed lube. Although a few sprays of the weed lube in your mouth would probably lead to a mild, pleasant high.
Goodness. Wow, wow, wow.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Love
Holy shit. I don't know what to say to that.
Gold might have an article that I had to use for a crossover.
All right, so there are 2 big stories in the news this week. I'm going to talk about the international one first. So, as you guys are, I'm sure, aware, Brazil has elected a new president who's being described in various ways: far-right, neo-Nazi, fascist, militarist, all kinds of stuff. There's been a lot of chatter about it in some of the other servers I'm in. There are, of course, people on both sides of that, and it's been an ongoing kind of sniping back and forth at each other. I've stayed out of it for the most part because I just want to see what they're, how they're gonna interact with each other. It's kind of amusing.
Is this Bolsonaro?
Yeah,
article?
Jair Bolsonaro. So I have an article